Hello and welcome to yet another video. This is the 15th episode of the story, in which Naruto sets out to discover his true reason for being Hokage. Look out, Ninja World! A new Naruto Uzumaki has arrived. Please like and subscribe to show your support. Let's get the show started. Wind style, devastation. Wind shot towards a calm Kimimaro. The sound ninja watched the attack in disinterest. A weak jutsu like that wouldn't do much damage to him. Using chakra to plant his feet on the ground, he took the attack without moving. The wind pushing against him but not doing much. He was pushed back a bit before the attack finally ceased. He turned to the two-leaf ninja with a frown. This will not be enough to defeat me. Multi-shadow clone jutsu, yelled Naruto as hundreds of clones filled the area. Here we go, they cried as they charged at the enemy while Naruto and Ino stayed behind. Two bone swords came out of Kimimaro's hands as the first group of the clones ran at him. The sound ninja cut cleanly through the first before taking a step back to avoid a kick. He proceeded to duck just in time to dodge a tackle from one of the doppelgangers. He stabbed one of his sword upwards and impaled one of the clones before he swung both swords to the right in order to cut through a pair of clones. Ino watched as Kimimaro fought the army of clones, feeling a bit outclassed by how he was handling them. Kimimaro was actually beating the clones with ease, not one had managed to hit him so far. She was starting to understand why Naruto was so wary of him. Listen up, Ino, here's the plan, Naruto began, watching as his clones' numbers were decreasing. We're only going to stall him long enough to get Sasuke back. If we can manage to do that, then our mission will be over. He slipped into his taijutsu stance just as the remaining clones continued their assault. Granny Tsunade said that a Jonin would be on the way. Let's do our best until then. Right? Ino smiled knowing that they had a better chance than before. If they only needed to stall until someone got there, then they had a much better chance. Kimimaro dodged another punch before cutting the arm off of one of the pesky clones. Two clones ran at him with extended arms from opposite directions, ready to strike their enemy. The sound ninja spun to his right, making the clones dispel each other before sidestepping a clone's mindless charge. With a flick of his wrist, he cut through the clone before swiping at his left, dispelling one more. He prepared for another wave of clones when, much to his puzzlement, the rest burst in clouds of smoke at the same time. Focusing his eyes, he caught part of the smoke swirling rapidly before a blue light became apparent. Naruto charged at Kimimaro with a Rasengan on hand. The sound ninja prepared to jump away, only to be held down by a pair of hands coming from the ground. Rasengan, he exclaimed as his attack neared the sound ninja. Kimimaro's eyes narrowed as he dug his swords into the ground, dispelling the clone underground before sidestepping the attack. Naruto's eyes widened as he received a knee to his stomach. He spat blood before using his right hand to grasp Kimimaro's right arm, stopping one of the swords from cutting through his neck. Water style, liquid bullets. Kimimaro was forced to jump away as water bullets shot past him. He frowned at the kunoichi that intervened on his fight. It doesn't matter if there's two of you. I'll still kill you in Lord Orochimaru's name. Got any more plans? Ino couldn't help but ask, unable to mask the worry in her voice. Naruto chuckled as he bit his thumb. Just one more, he muttered as he ran through hand signs before slamming both hands on the ground, summoning jutsu. A human-sized toad appeared before Naruto. It had purple skin with a white underbelly. Two katanas were strapped to his back, giving its warrior status away. Watch us summon me for. I want you to keep him busy, Naruto ordered with his eyes on Kimimaro. He can sprout bones out of his body, be careful. You got it, the toad smirked before leaping at the sound ninja with both katanas on hand. Kimimaro raised his swords to stop the toad's attack. He let out a small grunt due to the force behind the toad's blades, but managed to keep their blades intertwined. The toad kept on putting more pressure, forcing him to jump away in order to put a little distance. The sound ninja frowned. The summon would get annoying if he didn't take care of him quick. He leapt at the toad, wanting to use the momentum to his advantage, and brought both swords down on the toad. The summon met the attack with his own blades without much trouble before pushing off the ground, taking Kimimaro by surprise. Kimimaro was pushed higher in the air from the toad's powerful jump. He brought both feet down on the summon before kicking off of it, putting a fair distance away from it. The two landed on the ground without much trouble, both facing each other and ready to attack. Meanwhile, Naruto and Ino made it to the odd barrel, looking at it in wonder. So, this is where they're keeping Sasuke. Ino frowned as she turned to her boyfriend. How will we take it back to Konoha without that sound ninja noticing? The thing is huge. Don't worry about it, he smirked as he prepared a jutsu. Shadow clone jutsu, for clones appeared before the blonde, looking at him questioningly. I want you guys to take this barrel back to Konoha. Ino and I will try to keep anyone from chasing after you. The clones left without a word, seeing as the situation was serious. Naruto turned back to the Toad's fight. It appeared that they were evenly matched so far, but he knew better. Kimimaro had yet to use a jutsu, which meant that he was holding back or saving his strength. Let's go, Ino. He ran at Kimimaro with Ino close behind. The clones were already disappearing in the distance. Now all they needed to do was stall Kimimaro. How hard could that be? Lee found himself on the defensive as Yugo's attack grew more aggressive. He knocked aside an incoming punch only to receive another to his right shoulder. Letting out a short grunt of pain, he raised his right knee to strike his stomach. The sound ninja quickly raised his own knee to block the attack before punching Lee on the chest with both hands. Lee was pushed away from the ninja but quickly regained his balance and managed to duck under an incoming punch. He grit his teeth as he jerked his body upwards, headbutting the ninja on the chin. He followed with a series of punches to his upper body before finishing off with a hard kick to the ninja's side. Yugo sailed through the air before quickly regaining his balance and landing on a nearby tree branch. The darkened skin on the corner of his face began to spread, now covering most of it. Let's see how you do against this, he exclaimed with a grin as he raised both arms. Lee's eyes widened as Yugo's arms changed into cylinders with a hollow interior. The inside of the arms began to glow bright blue as two orbs of chakra gathered at the tips. Chakra bullet barrage. Blasts of chakra shot out of Yugo's arms, heading straight for the green-clad ninja. He kicked off the tree he had been standing off, narrowly dodging the blasts that impacted against the tree, leaving nothing but debris and smoke. His jaw clenched when he saw more of the bullets hitting his way. He was airborne. Dodging an attack like that would be almost impossible. Lee was forced to cross his arms in front of his chest, taking one of the bullets head-on. He screamed in pain as he was flung against a tree from the power of the impact. Lee let out a choked scream as his back slammed against the tree before sliding down into a sitting position. Both his arms burned from the attack and, taking a glance at them, they were in no good condition. Parts of skin had been burned off with the rest being covered in a bloody mess. He hissed in pain but knew that he had to get up quick. The ninja would be coming after him. His legs trembled as he managed a standing position. Gai-sensei. I won't let you down, he muttered weakly, already knowing what needed to be done. The sound ninja landed on a near tree with a grin on his darkened face. It seems I need to use them again. Chakra flared around Lee as he focused his mind. He let out a few grunts as the chakra grew more violent, kicking up dust and breaking off parts of the tree from the cheer power. First gate open. Chakra continued to swirl around Lee as his eyes glared at the sound ninja. Second gate open. His skin turned a dark shade of red as he continued to build up his strength. Yugo gritted his teeth before leaping at the ninja. He wouldn't let him finish whatever he was planning. Third gate open. Yugo's arm turned into an axe as he brought it down on the leaf ninja. His eyes widened in shock as his attack meant nothing but air. He took a step back with his eyes peeled for any sort of movement. Just how had the leaf ninja dodged his attack that quickly? Such level of speed was almost unreal. I'm over here. Yugo heard from his right before receiving a bone-crushing kick to his right side. He staggered backwards in pain before receiving a hard punch to his stomach. Blood splattered out of his mouth as he struggled to regain his breath. Not giving him any time to recover, Lee followed up with a kick to the Sound Ninja's chest, hurling him through the air. Lee leapt after him, moving right underneath him with the remainder of his bandages breaking loose. The bandages wrapped tightly around Yugo as Lee began to spin them both towards the ground headfirst. Yugo growled in anger as purple chakra flared around him. The two continued to fall with the chakra shielding them from view. Lee kept his hold on the ninja as they went down but felt the increasing strength of his opponent. His hold began to slip as Yugo flailed widely against his grip. "This is nothing leaf trash." Yugo laughed as his darkened face with a black stripe on the middle came to view. "Die. Die. Die." Lee felt pressure against his right side before something impaled through his right ribcage. Blood poured out of the wound as his hold on the Sound Ninja finally dropped. The green-clad ninja let out a scream of agony as Yugo moved his back from side to side, deepening whatever had impaled him. H. Lee cried in pure pain as the Sound Ninja kept on flailing wildly. Yugo laughed as he kept on moving his body from side to side. One of the many jet-like appendages on his back had impaled Lee, and he was savoring each scream. He chuckled as he flared chakra through the appendages, earning another agony-filled scream from his opponent. The force of the flare pushed him away from the ninja, but he easily landed on one of the many trees in the area while Lee fell limply on the ground. Yugo jumped down to take a closer look at the ninja he had just fought. His eyes were closing on their own while he struggled to move even a single inch. His body shook from the amount of pain running through it and his breath was weak. He smirked as he prepared to deliver the finishing blow. His death had been a fun one and, though it had been a short fight, he had savored each moment of it. "Now die," he laughed as he brought his fist down on the genin. Shino kept his gaze on Kidamaru, the latter with a smirk on his face. The bug user knew that he was at a big disadvantage since his bugs were out of the fight. It was true that he had been training to rid himself of that weakness, but it would take time before he was able to fight properly without the aid of his bugs. "Let's end this already." Kidamaru ran through hand signs before slamming both hands on the ground. Summoning Jutsu, dozens of spiders shot at Shino as Kidamaru placed a hand near his mouth. Shino used a cloud of bugs to slow the spiders down before jumping away. He landed on a branch while quickly digging his hand into one of his pockets, taking out a single kunai with a tag attached to the end. He flicked his wrist and sent the kunai flying. Kidamaru smirked as the kunai impacted against the ground before exploding and taking most of the spiders with it. He quickly formed a large bow and jumped up a near tree, taking aim at the bug user. Shino was forced to destroy the remaining spiders since they were still after him. His bugs were taking care of most while he did his part with a pair of kunai. As he was about to strike another spider, he caught the sound of something shooting through the air. He turned his head to see an arrow made of the brown material heading straight for him. He quickly jumped away and landed on the ground, keeping a heads up in case another arrow was shot. Once more he heard the whistling sound of the arrow shooting through the air and quickly ran through hand signs. He slammed both hands on the ground, his jutsu now completed, earth-style, mud wall. The wall of earth rose in front of Shino, blocking the incoming arrow with ease. His chakra reserves were on the low side now. Using earth jutsu was taxing on his body since his reserves weren't that great. Summoning jutsu. Another group of spiders leapt at Shino, making him curse and jump up the wall he had just created. He took out a pair of kunai with 2 explosive tags attached as the spiders grew closer. Just as he was about to throw them, another arrow shot at him. Shino was forced to jump away in order to avoid the projectile, only to see a second one heading for him. With no time to dodge, he flung one of the kunai at the incoming arrow, exploding against it on impact. Shino, not being able to move away, was caught in the shockwave of the explosion. He was flung through the air before crashing against a tree painfully, part of his head hitting against it. He bit back a scream as he kicked off the tree and landed on the ground, now with a bit of blood trailing down his face. He let out a gasp when he saw hundreds of spiders moving towards him. As he prepared another kunai, he caught sight of movement from his right, noticing another one of those arrows shooting at him. Shino prepared to move away but was stopped by a string of web wrapping around him. He struggled against the web as his bugs worked on taking the chakra off of it. Shino's eyes widened from beneath his glasses. The arrow was now only a few feet away, and his bugs wouldn't be able to break him free fast enough. Feeling defeated, he could only close his eyes in anticipation only to feel something tackle his side. He opened his eyes to see Kiba standing over him with a smirk on his face. "Kiba," he muttered in puzzlement, "weren't you supposed to be in the hospital?" Kiba simply chuckled. "And where would you be if I was?" He took in a breath, smelling the area around him and picking out the scent of Kadamaru with ease. "Let's go, Akamaru," the pup yipped as it took the form of Kiba, fawn over fawn. Kadamaru's eyes widened as two spinning blurs shot at him. He ran through hand sings as he made a small web. Summoning Jutsu, he slammed both hands on the web, creating a large poof of smoke. The smoke cleared to reveal a giant spider with dark red skin. The spider began to move, only to collide with Kiba's incoming attack. It screeched in pain as Kiba and Akamaru dug through it before it finally disappeared. Kiba and Akamaru returned to normal and landed in front of Kadamaru. Kiba leapt at the sound ninja, throwing a punch that was easily caught by one of 6 hands. Kadamaru smirked as he grabbed the leaf ninja with 2 hands before punching him with the others. Kiba grunted in pain with each strike, now knowing that fighting him in taijutsu had been a bad idea. Kadamaru continued his assault before feeling a set of teeth digging into his skin. He let out a cry of pain, looking down to see Akamaru biting on his leg. "Fucking dog," he cursed as he kicked his leg from side to side. Kiba took advantage of the distraction and brought both legs to Kadamaru's chest before adding chakra into them. Kadamaru felt a building pressure on his chest before he was shot away from Kiba, with Akamaru letting go off his leg. His chest was in pain, but he still managed to twist himself on the air and land safely on the ground. He looked at his stinging chest to see a large gash on his upper torso with a bit of skin peeled off in a few places. "I'm going to kill you for this," he yelled in anger. Kiba smirked, crossing his arms. "No, you're not. I was simply distracting you." Earth-style, mud wall. 4 walls rose around the sound ninja, blocking his vision of the leaf ninja. He turned to the top of the walls to see Shino standing there with his hands held together on a hand seal. "This is where our fight ends," Shino deadpanned. Earth-style, mud spikes. Spikes shot out of each wall, starting at the top. Kadamaru's hands shook as the spikes grew nearer before a spike tore through his right side. Blood stained the mud walls and most of Kadamaru's clothes, his 3 right arms now missing. He let out a mortified scream before more spikes shot out of the wall and silenced him. Shino panted as he sat against a tree with Kiba leaning against it with his arms crossed and Akamaru at his side. That was one crazy jutsu, Shino. Kiba smiled excitedly. "When did you learn it?" "I trained on elemental jutsu once our mission to the sound bases was over," he explained. "I found that I had an earth affinity. It works for me since most earth jutsu are easy to use in trap strategies." Kiba nodded absently. "Are you okay? You look really tired, man." "I have close to no chakra left in my body," he grunted as he tried to stand, but fell back against the tree, not to mention the possibility of broken bones. Kiba smirked as he helped Shino to his feet. "Like I told you. You're lucky I got out of the hospital." Kimimaro blocked an incoming slash from the Toad summon before swinging his own sword. The summon proved to be agile, as it quickly jumped over the attack before swinging his katanas once more. The sound ninja sidestepped as he parried one of the blades. Now with an opening he pointed his right hand at the Toad's side. "Die," he muttered as pieces of bone shot out of his fingertips. The attack dug into the frog's skin before it disappeared in a cloud of smoke. Kimimaro turned to his left to see the 2 blondes, both on their taijutsu stances. He looked around the area and found no sign of the barrel. His eyes hardened on the leaf ninja. "Where is it?" Naruto smirked. "It was taken away while you were fighting my summon." He noticed the way Kimimaro's yaw seemed to clench before continuing. "You won't catch up to it now." "What makes you think I won't?" Kimimaro asked in a dangerously calm voice. Naruto turned to Ino, the latter giving him a quick nod. He grinned in determination. With Ino by his side, he knew that they would be able to stall long enough, because we're here to stop you. I won't be stopped, Kimimaro muttered with a calm look on his face. He bent his knees slightly, preparing to move when needed. His swords were gripped tightly on his hands as he kept his eyes peeled for any sort of movement. He drew a short breath before speaking once more. There is no way that I'll ever fail Lord Orochimaru. Naruto frowned as he gathered chakra on his right hand. The seal there responded and his blade appeared on his open hand. Ino, he muttered to the blonde kunoichi standing next to him. Ino turned to him, wondering how they would go about the fight. I want you to stay back for now. What? She stuttered in disbelief, with a bit of anger on her voice. I'll be the bait, he explained as he prepared to move. Just wait for an opening and attack with all you have. With that he kicked off the ground, charging straight for Kimimaro. Ino stayed behind for the time being, telling herself that if Naruto was in the smallest amount of trouble she would attack. Naruto gathered wind chakra on his blade as he ran, its size and sharpness increasing. Once close enough, he slashed at Kimimaro, but he easily blocked with his two swords. Naruto gathered more chakra on the intertwined blade, beginning to slice through the bone swords. Kimimaro's eyes widened slightly, never witnessing his bone being sliced by another blade before. Seeing as his swords wouldn't hold out more longer, he kicked at the blonde with his right leg. Naruto took notice the incoming kick and quickly raised his left leg, blocking the incoming kick with his knee. He proceeded to push against the intertwined blades before jumping away and landing a few feet away. Shadow Clone Jutsu, he exclaimed as a pair of clones appeared at his side. Both clones stayed behind as Naruto charged at Kimimaro once more. The Jinchuriki jumped in the air before reaching out with his right hand and forming a Rasengan, still with a bit of distance away from the enemy. Kimimaro wondered briefly what he was doing before taking notice of the two clones standing behind the incoming ninja. The clones ran through hand signs, pointing their attacks at the airborne Naruto. Wind style, devastation, the clones dispersed as a powerful wind shot towards the original Naruto. The air pushed against the blonde, increasing his speed as he approached the enemy ninja. Kimimaro frowned as the attack grew closer, now knowing why Naruto had used the clones. He quickly jumped to the side, dodging the incoming Naruto that was forced to disperse his Rasengan and flip in the air in order to land safely. The sound ninja turned to Naruto only for his eyes to widen as a torrent of water approached him. Not expecting the attack, he took it full force and was hurled through the air before crashing against a tree. That was great, Ino, Naruto praised as he moved to stand next to her. I know I'm great, she smiled before turning back to Kimimaro with her expression turning into a frown. He was already standing with a look of anger on his face. But he's already back up. I thought that my attack would buy us a little more time. Naruto smiled bitterly. We'll need a lot more than that, he turned to Ino, giving her a curt nod. We have to attack together if we want to stand a chance. It's about all we can do, Ino nodded as she turned back to the enemy. Kimimaro narrowed his eyes on the two-leaf shinobi. He had underestimated them and dropped his guard, but he would make sure that it wouldn't happen again. You two will not go unpunished for this, he growled as his swords dug back into his skin. He then pointed both hands at the leaf ninja. Take this. Sharp pieces of bone shot out of Kimimaro's hands, heading straight for the couple just as Naruto ran through hand signs. Wind style, devastation, the powerful gust of air shot through the area, blowing away all of the incoming projectiles as it headed for Kimimaro. The sound ninja ended his attack, knowing that continuing it would be futile. As the air passed by him, he began to run at the two-leaf ninja. Bones stuck out of most of his upper body, shredding part of his shirt off. The two ninja didn't know what hit them as he closed in on them and stabbed with his two swords, though he instantly felt something was off. Just as he expected, both ninja turned to clouds of smoke, leaving him to wonder where the originals were. Wind style / water style. Kimimaro heard both voices coming from either side of him. He turned to his right, easily noticing Naruto standing on a tree. Turning to his left, he found the kunoichi standing a fair distance away from his air/liquid bullets. Blasts of wind and water shot at Kimimaro. The sound Shinobi moved from side to side in order to avoid the incoming attacks as two more bone swords formed on his hands. He used his swords to break apart a few of the bullets while most of them hit each other and dispersed. Soon the attacks ended, leaving only Kimimaro standing on a large puddle. He began to move, but felt a pair of hands take hold of his feet. A growl emitted from his lips as he stabbed the new clone holding his feet from underneath the ground, hearing the familiar dispersing sound. Shadow Clone Jutsu! Naruto exclaimed as 4 clones appeared around him. The clones jumped away from each other, forming a circle around Kimimaro though keeping a good distance away. The blonde followed with a series of hand signs before putting a hand to his mouth, his clones mimicking his actions, wind style, wind wave. The streams of air hit against the ground around the sound ninja, blowing the water around Kimimaro. Ino moved closer to Kimimaro before mending the airborne water, spinning it counterclockwise and creating a large whirlpool. Kimimaro was swallowed up by the large whirlpool, his face showing nothing but fury. Naruto jumped up a tree before kicking off of it and forming an orb of air on his right hand. He sailed through the air before diving into the whirlpool, sticking his right hand out as he neared the spinning Kimimaro. Wind style, spiraling wind ball, he exclaimed as the orb of wind met the sound ninja's back. Kimimaro let out a scream of pain as he was slammed onto the ground. The water died down as Naruto landed safely on the ground. I can't believe that worked, Ino smiled as she moved next to Naruto. The Chunin grinned slightly. We had the element of surprise on our side, but an attack like that won't work again, he explained with his eye on the dust cloud that had kicked up due to Kimimaro's impact against the ground. He'll expect things like this from now on. Let's just have our jutsu stall him only and try to wound him when the opportunity comes. Ino nodded in agreement. They had caught the sound ninja by distracting him and thinking 2 steps ahead. The air and water bullets had been a good distraction that had also gathered the necessary amount of water for her to mend. Next up were the wind waves Naruto had made in order to have the water completely surround Kimimaro. Lastly, she had simply done her first water control training exercise, albeit using a lot more chakra, which resulted in a large whirlpool that kept him in place for Naruto to deliver a strong point-blank range attack. "How's your chakra?" Naruto suddenly asked, breaking her train of thought. Ino turned to Naruto with a small grin on her face. "I still have a good amount left even though I used up a lot of it controlling the whirlpool. We have to come up with a name for that anyway." Naruto chuckled. "It has to be a cool name though. Something like that." Its dash the Chunin was cut off as a sudden wave of chakra engulfed the area. The couple turned to see Kimimaro standing before them with black marks running across his face and upper torso, his shirt being torn off by the bones that had stuck out of his body. His gaze held nothing but anger as a dark purple chakra swirled around him. "I've had enough of you," Kimimaro frowned as a piece of bone struck out of his right hand. He let out a hiss as a broad bone sword emerged from his hand, taking hold of it with both hands. Ino turned to Naruto with a frown on her face. She had seen those marks before, and her mission to the sound bases to be exact. Kimimaro's had a different pattern, but she was sure they were the same. It's one of those curse marks from the mission to the sound bases, right? Yeah, Naruto agreed, remembering the enemies they had taken down that day. They had all possessed the curse mark and had been really hard to stop, which made him wonder how much stronger Kimimaro had gotten. Just by looking at him, he could tell that the gap between their powers had only increased and not by little. Wind chakra gathered around the blade Naruto held as he walked a bit closer to Ino. "Remember to keep your distance from him," he warned. "We'll just need to stall a little longer anyway." Ino smiled bitterly, easier said than done. Niji stood his ground as Tayuya's remaining ogre charged at him. He listened to the tone Tayuya now played. It was a more upbeat and chaotic one. Judging from the last attacks, the ogre would take an aggressive style of fighting. The ogre raised its club as it closed in on the Hyuga. Niji remained still as the weapon descended upon him, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike. His Byakugan activated as he sidestepped the attack, though not managing to avoid getting his arm scraped by one of the spikes on it. He gathered chakra on his right hand before striking the ogre on the chest, hitting its heart directly. Not bad, Tayuya smirked as the summon disappeared in a cloud of smoke. Niji turned to face her with his Byakugan glaring into her eyes. The sound ninja didn't seem fazed as she pulled more chakra out of the curse mark, causing her appearance to begin to change. Her skin grew darker, 2 horns sprouted out of her now longer hair, and her eyes turned to a glaring yellow. She smirked as she faced the leaf ninja. It's too bad that I'll have to get serious now. Niji dropped into his taijutsu stance. If that's the case, then maybe I should get serious as well, he smirked, earning a glare from Tayuya. Tayuya slammed both hands on the ground, summoning jutsu. 4 ogres emerged from a cloud of smoke, all of them carrying clubs. Niji fought the urge to yell out in annoyance. He had just taken down 3 of those, and now he needed to take out 4 more. It was only through sheer willpower that he managed to keep his face calm. The Hyuga took out a couple of kunai, attaching exploding tags on both. I have to take them out quickly. If I don't, then I'll only end up wasting energy fighting them. He was broken out of his thoughts by the distinct sound of Tayuya's flute beginning to play. Now, with the knowledge of her different tunes, he had an idea of what she would be doing. They're going to attack head-on. Niji jumped up a near tree branch just as an ogre chased after him. He landed on the branch before beginning to run up the tree. Just as he took another step, an ogre suddenly tackled him from his side. His eyes widened as he was hurled through the air, but managed to regain balance and land safely on the ground. His eyes narrowed as he leaned to his right, barely avoiding a thrust from one of the ogre's clubs. What is this? He wondered as another ogre charged at him. The large summon swung at him, but met only ground as Niji rolled to his left. He dropped his first kunai before running at one of the ogres, catching movement out of the corner of his eye. How are they organized? Niji skidded to a stop before jumping backwards, avoiding a powerful swing of the newly arrived ogre. Counting the one that had chased him and the 3 that had been waiting for him to move, he had already faced all of the ogres. Right now 3 were in front of him, which meant that the last one would be waiting to attack, but that didn't make any sense. Judging by the tune from the flute, they should be charging at him instead of going through strategies. Did I read her fighting style wrong? Tayuya smirked from her spot on a tree branch. Seeing the confusion on the leaf ninja's face, she concluded that he had been thrown off by her change of tune. A thing he didn't know was that there were different tunes for each commands. Making him read the first tunes had been part of her plan to catch him off guard. Niji's Byakugan caught sight of the last ogre charging at him from behind. He dropped his remaining kunai before jumping up a tree, coming to a stop while glancing at the gathered ogres. He quickly set his hand in the ram seal, not wanting the ogres to spread out again. Take this. Both kunai exploded beneath the group of ogres. Dust and debris kicked up in a powerful explosion that covered everything from view. Niji briefly wondered how Naruto had made such powerful explosive tags, but dismissed it as he ran behind a set of trees that would hide him from view. Tayuya covered her eyes from the incoming dust and debris. She had seen him drop the kunai when running, but she had assumed he had simply been too preoccupied to hang on to them, and on the off chance that he had been doing it on purpose, she hadn't expected him to have such powerful exploding tags. She uncovered her eyes once the smoke cleared, none of her summons remaining from the explosion. There was a large crater in the ground before her, and several trees had broken in two. She scanned the area for the Hyuga, but found no sign of him, much to her luck. Tayuya placed the flute to her lips, playing a soft tune that filled the area. Her genjutsu would be able to take him out of his hiding place. Niji stood against a tree with his Byakugan active in case of a sneak attack. So far, he had only seen Tayuya begin to play her flute before there was a sudden burst of chakra from her. She's casting a genjutsu. He frowned as he stopped his chakra before flaring it in order to prevent himself from being caught in the genjutsu. He quickly took out a kunai before flinging it towards a large tree. Just one opening would be needed and, hopefully, the sound of the kunai hitting the tree would distract her long enough. He kept his gaze on her as the kunai stabbed into the tree. Her head snapped to the side, obviously hearing the sound. This was his chance. Niji emerged from his spot behind a large tree before kicking off the ground, heading straight for the sound ninja. Tayuya, hearing the sound of footsteps, turned around to see Niji nearing her with his right fist held back. Too late to dodge, she received a hard open palm strike to her chest, instantly rendering her unconscious as she was sent flying through the air. Niji landed on the tree branch Tayuya had been standing on as her body fell limply on the ground. "I'm finally done here," he muttered to himself as he jumped down the tree and approached the sound ninja. He kneeled next to her to see her chest rising and falling. He had expected this. His open palm strike hadn't been a fatal one, he had only opted for knocking her out. She didn't know that he could see when a genjutsu was going to be cast, which would explain why she had been caught completely off guard. He had contemplated on just killing her, but capturing her would be a lot more useful. The 4 Naruto clones ran through the trees of the dense forest. One of them held the barrel containing Sasuke on its back with an angry frown. The clone carrying the Uchiha suddenly came to a realization, eyes widening in understanding. "Wait a minute," it called out, making the 3 other clones stop on their tracks and look at him quizzically. "Why the hell am I carrying this thing?" The clone put the barrel down before crossing its arms and letting out a huff. "I'm not taking another step with that thing. Someone else carry it." "Fuck that," a clone roared in rage. "You carry it. It was your job after all." Another clone shook its head. "This is just wasting time." Guys. We shouldn't be fighting," the last clone spoke up. "When did I agree to this?" the clone asked in anger, obviously ignoring the last 2 clones. "Just shut up already. Your voice is annoying." "We have the same voice." The clones continued their argument before a sudden sound from the barrel caught their attention. One of the clones stepped closer to the barrel only to be stabbed by a hand covered in lightning before dispersing in a cloud of smoke. The other clones watched as their ally dispersed and the barrel broke into pieces, the last Uchiha now standing before them. Sasuke smirked as he looked at the clones. His Sharingan glared at the 3 clones before deactivating, Sasuke's stance relaxing before he spoke. "Where's the real Naruto? Why do you even care?" One of the clones smirked. "Are you looking for the boss so that he can kick your ass again?" Sasuke's visible eye narrowed before he blurred out of view. The clone's eyes widened in shock before receiving a hard kick to the face that dispersed it upon contact. The remaining clones slipped into their taijutsu stances while Sasuke simply smirked in amusement. A clone quickly ran through hand signs before putting a hand to its lips. "Wind style, devastation," it yelled before dispersing. The powerful wind shot at the Uchiha just as he finished running through his own hand signs. Wind style, devastation, his own powerful wind met the other before it could near him. The result was a small twister that dispersed quickly. Sasuke smirked before catching movement from his left, turning to see the remaining clone charging at him with an orb of compressed wind on its right hand. Sasuke smirked before using his own jutsu, fire style, fireball jutsu. The flames met the spinning orb of compressed wind in an explosion that engulfed the clone. Sasuke watched his handiwork with a smirk. The clones were no problem, and now he had a good idea of how to defend himself against most of Naruto's jutsu. Sasuke turned around and broke into a run. The clones had been leading him the opposite direction, which meant that he would eventually run into one of those sound ninja that would take him to Orochimaru if he just kept going in a straight line. Now with the clones gone, he knew that Naruto would be soon to follow. He smirked as he moved through the forest. He couldn't wait to settle his score with Naruto. Kimimaro charged at the 2-leaf ninja with his broadsword held to his side. The 2 shinobi jumped away from the area before running through hand signs, already taking aim. Naruto was the first to attack with several air bullets that he easily dodged by jumping away. Next was a torrent of water from the kunoichi that he simply sidestepped. The sound ninja jumped away from the water that had built up on the ground. He knew better than to be caught in the same trap again. If they didn't have enough water, then they couldn't use any strong water jutsu. Naruto ran through hand signs as he watched Kimimaro jump away before the memory of his clones hit him all at once. He hissed in pain, putting a hand to his head and closing his eyes. The clones had been running around for a while, and such long memories always gave him headaches. "Are you all right?" Ino asked in alarm, having no idea why he suddenly looked hurt. The Chunin shook his head as he processed the memories. Sasuke was awake now and needed to be stopped before he got to Orochimaru, but, throwing a glance at Ino, he knew for a fact that he wouldn't let her fight alone. It looked like things had changed. Instead of stalling Kimimaro now, they needed to defeat him in order to get to Sasuke before it was too late. "Ino," Naruto muttered with a frown on his face. He clenched the blade on his right hand as wind chakra gathered around it. Sasuke escaped the clones. Ino's eyes widened before he continued, "Our mission is to stop him from going to Orochimaru. It looks like we'll have to defeat this sound ninja so that we can complete it. Then, we'll continue to attack him with combination attacks, right?" she asked, receiving a nod from her boyfriend. Ino grinned, "Then let's get rid of this freak quickly." Naruto chuckled and gave her a nod, "Let's." The two jumped in front of Kimimaro with renowned vigor. They would no longer try to stall, this time they would try to go for the kill. "It seems you two decided not to run anymore," Kimimaro commented with a calm expression on his face, a total contrast to the flaring purple chakra around him. "That's good. It will make it easier to kill you." An orb of compressed wind formed on Naruto's right hand as he smirked at the sound ninja. "We'll see about that." Naruto dug the attack into the ground, kicking up a large cloud of dust that shielded him and Ino from view. Kimimaro watched closely for any signs of movement before seeing several shadows appear inside the cloud of dust. He frowned as dozens of Naruto clones charged recklessly at him. He ran at the neared clone and swung his sword, cutting cleanly through it. The next clone threw a punch, but he easily dove under it before a bone struck out of his shoulder and impaled the clone. More bones appeared around his body as he cut through the small army of clones, cutting them all with ease. From behind the clones, Naruto ran through hand sings. Wind style, he began as all of the clones suddenly dispersed in a large cloud of smoke. Kimimaro looked at him oddly before the Chunin released his jutsu, Devastation. The powerful wind shot through the air, blowing all of the smoke at Kimimaro, who simply held his ground. His vision was blocked, but he knew not to get impatient. They wouldn't attack him directly since he could easily outmatch them both. The air around Kimimaro cleared to reveal no sign of the Konoha shinobi. He frowned before catching movement to his left and spotting the kunoichi running through hand signs. "Water style, raging waves," she exclaimed as a torrent of water shot out of her mouth. "Pathetic," Kimimaro muttered as he sidestepped the attack. The water shot past him and drenched the ground where he had just been standing. He prepared to charge at the kunoichi but heard a rumbling sound. His attention turned to the ground as Naruto broke through it with his blade on hand. Naruto slashed at the sound ninja, his blade enhanced with wind chakra. Kimimaro's eyes widened in shock as he leaned his body back at the last second, successfully avoiding the attack's full force, but not a large, though not deep, wound on his chest. Blood emitted from the wound as Naruto ran through hand signs in a speed he hadn't seen earlier. Wind style, wind. Wave. Kimimaro didn't have time to dodge the point-blank attack and was pushed away from the blonde. He growled as he skidded backwards, his chance to retaliate gone because of the last-minute jutsu. The two ninja were running his patience, and his control over the curse mark's intensified emotions was slipping. Naruto landed on the ground with a focused gaze on his eyes. His attacks so far hadn't put much damage, if any, on Kimimaro. They had only delayed or stopped Kimimaro from attacking him or Ino. It looked as if the only thing they were doing was annoy the sound ninja. More purple chakra flared around Kimimaro as he glared at the blonde ninja. The same shinobi Orochimaru had told him to kill only a few weeks ago. He would fulfill his lord's request. The ninja needed to die, and he would make sure of it. Kimimaro placed a hand on the ground and concentrated. The two ninja were proving to be annoying when together. He would need to separate them and kill them separately. Seeing that Kimimaro was open for an attack, Naruto quickly ran through hand signs while he had the chance. As he finished preparing his attack, he felt a sudden rumbling coming from beneath him. Naruto's eyes widened before jumping away just as a large spike made of bone emerged from where he had just been standing. What the hell was that? Naruto wondered as he landed a few feet away. He didn't have much time to ponder since the same rumbling feeling beneath his skin shook his body. Naruto jumped away once more while another spike ripped through the ground. Is there no limit to how many he can make? Ino gritted her teeth as she ran through hand signs. She had seen the attacks about to hit Naruto, and she wasn't about to let Kimimaro kill him. Water style, raging waves. Kimimaro frowned as the torrent of water headed straight for him. He would need to keep her occupied as well. With a push from the bones moving through the ground, a large spike appeared before him to shield him from the attack. The only downside to his jutsu was that he was open to attacks while conducting his bones, but he knew that the leaf ninja weren't that dangerous from far away. The kunoichi frowned when her attack was blocked and prepared to try once more, only to hear something moving beneath her. Ino quickly jumped away to see one of those spikes break through the ground. She landed several feet away but heard another one of those spikes coming her way. Again, she leapt away from the area while wondering how she was going to get out of this situation. Naruto continued to move through the area while dodging the spikes. He wasn't clueless to the fact that he and Ino were away from each other, something Kimimaro had planned no doubt. This itself was a disadvantage, along with the area around him being filled with those spikes. He was running out of running room and would eventually be trapped if he didn't think of something. He rolled to his side to avoid another incoming spike, but, upon taking a look at his surroundings, he found himself completely surrounded by the spikes. Damn it, Naruto muttered as he ran through hand signs. Wind style, devastation, the powerful gust hit against the ground, pushing Naruto high in the air. Kimimaro watched the Chunin sail through the air and quickly dug his broadsword in the ground before pointing his free hand at him. Now die. Naruto's eyes widened as needles of bone shot at him. Damn it, I can't dodge this. He gritted his teeth in anger before running through hand sings as fast as he could, but just as he was going to finish his jutsu, a cloud of sand gathered in front of him. His brows furrowed in confusion before the cloud of sand wrapped around his waist and pulled him away. Naruto landed safely on the ground, the sand around him moving away. He turned to where the sand was going and couldn't help but feel a little relieved. There stood Gaara with his arms crossed and a blank expression on his face. Gaara? Naruto muttered with a grin. Just how did he always manage to appear at the right times? Good to see you again, Uzumaki. Gaara nodded at him before turning his attention to Kimimaro. It seems I arrived just in time. Kimimaro pulled his arm out of the ground, ending his control of the spikes. Ino moved to stand next to Naruto and the newly arrived Gaara with a bit of sweat on her face. She panted slightly, a bit tired from all the jutsu she had used combined with her dodging the spikes for that long. Are you all right, Ino? Naruto asked worriedly. Ino gave him a smile before nodding. I'm okay. Let's just get this over with already. Right, he grinned, feeling a lot more confident now that he had Ino and Gaara fighting beside him. Kimimaro looked at Gaara with a frown on his face. I don't care that there's 3 of you, he began as purple chakra flared around him. His skin turned a shade darker, 6 bones sprouted from his back, just above a newly formed tail. The chakra flared around him as he glared at the 3 ninja. I'm done playing games. All of you will die now. Naruto, Ino, and Gaara slipped into their respective fighting stances. It looked like it was going to be a long fight, but time was something they didn't have. Sasuke was getting further away from Konoha as they stood there facing Kimimaro. Naruto silently wondering just how they were going to manage to defeat him fast enough to chase after the last Uchiha. Anything I should know about him? Gaara asked in a hushed tone, his eyes set on the sound ninja standing in front of them. Even he had to admit that Kimimaro looked rather intimidating by normal standards, but, being a Jinchuriki, he knew better than to be intimidated by a transformation that wasn't stronger than the demon sealed within him. Next to him, Naruto and Ino exchanged a quick look, silently agreeing on how to fight the sound ninja. He hasn't shown much, but he's deadly if you fight him up close, Naruto informed with a frown on his face. We'll just have to create an opening with long-range attacks and take him out with a powerful attack. Gaara nodded calmly. What powerful attack will that be? Naruto's Rasengan will be perfect for this, Ino answered. I know what it can do, and I'm sure he won't waste any opportunity we give him. I see, Gaara muttered before turning to Naruto with an almost worried look on his face. Can you really do it? Naruto looked at his two teammates before breaking into a grin, an air of confidence around him. It won't be easy to fool him again, but I'll get it done. Kimimaro suddenly charged at the group of muttering ninja, two bone swords emitting from his hands as his rough tail left a trail on the ground. Gaara was quick to fire a shot of sand at the incoming ninja, though it only managed to slow him down for a second before he broke through the sand with ease. Wind style, wind wave. Naruto shot a blast of wind at the ground, kicking up a cloud of dust before jumping away from the area. Ino and Gaara followed after him, watching as Kimimaro emerged from the cloud of dust. Kimimaro had a frown on his face. The three ninja weren't making things easy and were quick to get away from him. He knew that if one of his attacks connected it was over, but it looked as if it wouldn't be too easy. We can't keep running away, Ino complained with a few beads of sweat running down her face. She's right, Gaara agreed with his arms crossed. We won't achieve anything unless we go on the offensive. Don't worry, Naruto assured with a focused expression, his eyes glued on the enemy. Kimimaro was simply standing there as if calculating his next move. The Chunin grinned slightly, a plan forming on his head. Just keep him busy with long-range attacks. I've got a plan. Gaara glanced at Naruto before turning back to the enemy. I hope it works, he muttered before shooting a wave of sand at Kimimaro. The sound ninja was quick to jump away before pointing a hand at Naruto. Bones gathered at the tips of his fingers before shooting at him. The blonde Chunin didn't move as a cloud of sand gathered in front of him, blocking the incoming projectiles. Kimimaro turned to the red-haired ninja knowing that he would be the one he needed to take out first. With that in mind, he jumped at Gaara with his two swords held back. But where did the kunoichi go? Kimimaro wondered as he sailed through the air. He suddenly heard movement from behind him and quickly turned to the source, eyes widening when seeing Ino right behind him. He turned his body in order to attack Bu. Before he could defend himself, she threw a punch at him, connecting with his torso and cracking some bones on contact. A groan of pain escaped his lips before being launched away from the kunoichi, landing painfully on the ground. That was great, Ino. Naruto cheered from a near tree branch. What was that? Kimimaro stood up slowly, his upper torso in pain. It's impossible for her to be so physically strong. She's too small for that. He glared at the three ninja before his eyes widened in realization. That punch was similar to the one Lord Orochimaru's old teammate gave me. Since the same blonde ninja is here, then that means that they might know each other. I'll have to watch out for her taijutsu. Thanks, Naruto. Ino smiled as she landed on the ground, glad to see that she had helped out unlike other times when she felt she didn't. Kimimaro, seeing Ino distracted, quickly leapt at her with his two swords on hand. He watched as her eyes widened in panic before Naruto landed in front of her. Naruto ran through hand signs before putting a hand to his mouth, obviously about to use a wind jutsu. Kimimaro reached out with his right hand before Naruto could finish preparing his jutsu, the bone sword on his right hand shooting at the blonde. Shit, Naruto cursed, knowing that he wouldn't be fast enough to dodge the attack. He closed his eyes in anticipation before hearing an impacting sound. Opening his eyes, he was greeted with the sight of a wall of sand standing in front of him. Naruto let out a breath he didn't know he was holding before jumping away from the area, not wanting to be near Kimimaro's range again. Kimimaro gritted his teeth as he turned to his left, easily spotting the sand ninja standing on a tree branch with his arms crossed and sand floating around him. You will be the first to die, sand ninja, he stated coldly. Gaara seemed unfazed by the declaration but prepared himself for what he was sure would be a long fight. Ino watched the exchange of words from her spot on the ground behind Naruto, who stood in front of her with his blade on hand. "I'm sorry," she suddenly spoke, making Naruto turn to her with a look of confusion. "I let my guard down and you almost got hurt." She lowered her gaze to the ground, feeling her previous confidence go down. "It was all my fault." "It wasn't sure your fault, Ino," Naruto assured with a small smile. "Everyone can let their guard down. We're not perfect." He grinned as he turned back to the sound ninja. "Just know that every time you do, I'll be there to cover you. I hope you'll do the same for me." "Always," Ino assured with a smile. She watched the interchange between Gaara and Kimimaro with a frown on her face, turning to Naruto once more. "Are we still going with that plan of yours?" Naruto nodded. "Yeah. Keep on using long-range attacks to distract him. When the time comes, I'll jump in and take him out." "All right then," Ino grinned as she ran through Hansing's water-style liquid bullets. Gaara watched as Ino's attack neared Kimimaro before making his move. Just as the sound ninja began to jump away, a stream of sand shot at him, successfully wrapping around his ankles. Kimimaro fell on the ground as the hold on his ankles grew tighter. He glanced down to his legs to see the sand beginning to go up his legs. Not one to be caught so easily, Kimimaro broke through the hold by kicking his legs upwards. Due to his enhanced strength, the sand appeared frail as he easily broke through. He proceeded to stand up before pointing a hand at the sand ninja and shooting several bone fragments. Gaara quickly covered himself with a cloud of sand, the bones harmlessly impacting against his sand. His eyes suddenly snapped to his right as another wave of sand covered his right side, blocking a swing from one of Kimimaro's swords. Kimimaro took a quick glance at Ino's direction, following the movement of her hands, already running through another set of hand signs. He swung at Gaara once more, the sand kicking up and blocking his swipe with ease. Gaara proceeded to shoot a stream of sand at him, but he managed to dodge by ducking under the sand. Water-style, raging waves. "Now's my chance." Kimimaro reached for Gaara, a wall of sand instantly coming up. The sound ninja pushed through the sand before taking a firm grip of Gaara's shirt. Gaara let out a gasp of surprise before he was hurled through the air with tremendous force. He heard the kunoichi yell at him to move before he was struck with a powerful shot of water on his back. Air left his body in an audible gasp before he crashed against a tree. Ino ran to help Gaara but had her path blocked by the sound ninja, wielding both blades on hand. Before she could process what was going on, Kimimaro swung both blades at her. Ino found herself following the movement as she leant backwards to dodge both swipes. She proceeded to kick at the enemy with her right leg, making contact with his stomach. Kimimaro didn't seem fazed and continued his assault. Ino found it harder and harder to dodge, feeling a bit tired from the whole fight. The fact that Kimimaro's attacks seemed to only get faster didn't help either. The sound ninja finally found himself with the upper hand. Gaara was incapacitated for the moment and he was about to take down one more. He swung his blade once more, only to have Ino dodge once more, though this time he closed in on her before using his right leg to kick her feet from under her. "Damn it," Ino thought as she fell to the ground with Kimimaro standing before her with both blades on hand. "Die," Kimimaro muttered before bringing both swords down on Ino. Time seemed to slow as the swords neared Ino. She saw her whole life flash before her eyes. Her first day of school. Her first test on becoming a genin. Meeting Naruto. Learning of his past and helping him open up a bit more. All of those things flashed through her eyes, being snapped out of her thoughts by a loud clang. Her eyes, she realized, had closed during Kimimaro's attack, snapped open to see Naruto standing with his back to her, his blade intertwined with both of Kimimaro's. "And Naruto," she let out in relief. Naruto's eyes hardened on Kimimaro, showing nothing but fury. "I'll tell you only once," he muttered before his blade began to cut through Kimimaro's bone swords. The sound ninja's eyes widened in shock as his two blades were cut in half. "If you get near her again, I'll violently kill you," he roared as he delivered a harsh kick to Kimimaro's stomach, actually knocking the wind out of him. Kimimaro didn't have time to react as he received a kick to his head, snapping it to the side as blood splattered out of his mouth. "Take this, you bastard," Naruto yelled once more as he formed a Rasengan on his right hand and digging it into Kimimaro's stomach. Rasengan. Pain was all Kimimaro felt as the attack dug deeper and deeper into his stomach. Blood poured out of his mouth as he fought to stay conscious. He couldn't let himself get taken down like this. He still had his lord's powers. Purple chakra erupted from Kimimaro, pushing against Naruto's Rasengan. "Damn it," the Chunin muttered as he fought against the malevolent chakra. He had to keep going, this was their chance and he couldn't waste it. "Just die already." With one final push, his Rasengan dispersed on the Sound Ninja's stomach, sending him flying through the air before crashing against the ground, leaving a large cloud of dust behind. Naruto panted as he looked at the cloud of dust, hoping that their fight was over. His attack had been a sneaky one, but he was a ninja, things were supposed to be like this. Stealth, deception, and tricks were all tools that were used by Shinobi. Anko had taught him this, and he had taken it to heart. "Is he down, Naruto?" Ino asked as she approached the Chunin with a light limp on her step. "I hope so," he responded before putting an arm around her shoulder to help her stand. "Are you all right?" Ino nodded as she looked down at her feet. "I'll be fine, but I'm pretty sure he dislocated my ankle though." "Come on, I'll take you back to Dash." Naruto stopped mid-sentence, his eyes on one of the many trees in the area. Ino looked at him oddly before turning to see what exactly he was looking at. A gasp escaped her mouth as she looked at who exactly stood on a tree branch. Sasuke. Sasuke smirked as he looked over his two ally Leaf Shinobi. "Not bad," he spoke in a smug tone, looking at where the Sound Ninja was supposed to be. "That was an okay fight, but it took you too long to beat him." "What's wrong? Was that all of your strength, Naruto?" Naruto frowned. "What the hell are you doing here? You should be on your way to Konoha, that's where the clones were taking you." "Did you really think I would go back so easily?" he responded calmly before turning away from the two shinobi. "I told you once before, Naruto. We are meant to fight. I will not leave for the Sound Village until I fight you, so let's make it quick." Naruto glanced at Ino, meeting her worried gaze before giving her a sad smile. "Fine," he muttered as he turned back to Sasuke, "let's get this." "Over I've had it," a deep voice roared as purple chakra erupted around them, gusts of wind shooting through the area. "What's going on?" Ino yelled out as she wrapped both arms around Naruto in order to keep herself from falling. Sasuke frowned as his Sharingan activated, easily finding the source of the power. He had to admit that it was a lot of power, but he didn't appreciate being interrupted like that. His fight with Naruto was near and this idiot had just gotten on the way. Naruto narrowed his eyes as he finally managed to see just who had screamed. "Why won't he stay down?" he growled as he glared at the furious Kimimaro. Purple chakra swirled around Kimimaro as he kept his eyes glued on Naruto with a burning rage on his eyes. The wound on his stomach was still open though not bleeding anymore, making Naruto wonder just how he had survived a Rasengan. "I'm done with you," Kimimaro spoke. "I have to admit that I wouldn't have been able to survive that attack if it hadn't been for Lord Orochimaru making my body stronger. But I won't fall for your tricks anymore." He turned to the newly arrived Sasuke before speaking in a commanding tone. "Go to Lord Orochimaru this instant. Our mission depends on it." Sasuke simply smirked before turning to Naruto. "I couldn't care less about what this tool says, but I don't want to fight you here. It's too crowded." He turned his back on Naruto before looking at him over his shoulder. "Come to the Valley of the End. It's a fitting place for our fight." With that, Sasuke finally left, Naruto watching as he got further and further away. His whole mission was slipping out of his hands. He had to think of something quick. "Don't worry, Uzumaki," came the voice of Gaara. Naruto turned his head to see Gaara standing on a cloud of sand with his arms crossed. "We'll take care of him. He's already wounded. Just go get the Uchiha back." "Do you think I'd just leave you alone?" Naruto dismissed the idea with a frown on his face. "I won't leave you guys to fight him on your own." Kimimaro growled before kicking off the ground, charging straight for Naruto with his right arm held back. Naruto quickly picked Ino up bridle style before jumping away, hoping to dodge the charging ninja. The sound ninja easily read his movements and jumped after him before pointing a hand at them both, bone fragments gathering on his fingertips. Fawn over fawn. Two spinning blurs launched at Kimimaro, forcing him to stop dead on his tracks and jump back in order to avoid taking any more damage. The blurs came to a stop to show a smirking Kiba standing next to a growling Akamaru. "Sorry we're a little late." Kiba grinned as he looked over Kimimaro and cleared his taste. "What the hell are you fighting?" "It looks like a really weird lizard." "Just don't ask," came the voice of Niji as he landed near the group. He carried his usual Hyuga monotone expression, though he sported a few bruises on his face and a bit of his clothes had been burnt off. It's not like he'll get to live long enough for us to care. Kiba chuckled. "Since when did you get so cool?" Niji simply smirked. "Since when did you think I wasn't?" "All right, enough love between you two." Ino sighed out in annoyance, earning a glare from the two ninja. "Sasuke's already gone. We have to make this quick." Gaara turned to Naruto once more, his calculating eyes daring him to find any reason not to leave. "You have to follow after him. You can't let your team fail, can you?" "Following after Sasuke would be the best option," Niji agreed with a nod. "You don't look too tired, Naruto. You're the only one that can bring him back at this point." I can't," he stuttered before feeling a tug on his vest. His eyes met Ino's, the latter silently telling him that she would be okay. He struggled to answer before finally turning back to the team. "Fine, I'll go. Just make sure to take care of each other, all right?" Kiba smirked. "You're sounding like my mom right now. Just go already. Kick some ass, all right? Finish this mission for us." Niji nodded at him. "Don't fail," Gaara added. Ino separated from Naruto, supporting herself with the aid of a tree. She gave him a smile, wishing him the best. "You can do this." Naruto nodded at his team before running up the nearest tree. Once he got to the tree branch, he kicked off of it and began to make his way to the valley of the end. Sunlight shone behind him as he jumped through the forest, his eyes showing nothing but determination. He would put an end to this mission once and for all.
That's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on my other social media accounts. Anime God here, and I'm signing off.